welcome to Comics Chat, the show where I talk with comics creators and fans about their own work and some of their own favorite comics. My name is Sarah Cook. I'm a comics writer. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sarah C. Comics. And to subscribe to my newsletter and follow all my goings-on, you can find the link in the show notes. And if you enjoy this show, please like and subscribe. Today I'm talking with Jermaine Boyd, Martina Niosi, and Brittany Matter, the creators of the comic Ameial Sky. Jermaine is the writer, Martina is the artist, and Brittany is the editor. It's a very cool comic. It's a post-apocalyptic story about this young girl who has these mysterious powers, but she's in this kind of state where she doesn't know who she is, and she doesn't know about her powers. It seems that she might be the one who can really make a difference in this kind of dystopic world, but she doesn't know how. She's kind of learning that as she goes. It's a very cool story with really cool art and really, I think, perfect colors for this kind of dystopian world. That's one thing that visually really stood out for me. And Brittany is the editor for my upcoming sci-fi series. And I learned about Ameial Sky through her. I'm really happy to have the chance through her to connect with Jermaine and with Martina. And I just really enjoyed chatting with all three of them today, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation. Hello, I am here with the creators of Ameial Sky, Jermaine Boyd, Martina Niosi, and Brittany Matter. Jermaine, would you like to start us off with a little intro to Ameial Sky?
Yeah, well, she is a 13-year-old little girl who is she's suffering from amnesia. She just woke up in the middle of the apocalypse. Um, she has no friends whatsoever. She has no idea who she really is. She has certain abilities that she has that she doesn't really know about, and she starts to discover those things as she goes along her way. Um, right now, she's on a mission to find her parents, and in this process, she's finding a few friends along the way who are helping her kind of find out about her identity and who she's going to be in the future.
Very cool. And you're on issue 4,
Oh yeah.
right? And it's 6 issues.
Currently right now, oh well, Ameial Sky, I started writing this story, let's say probably, I would say almost 15 years ago. So right now I am on volume 5, and it's currently right now going to be up to 7 to 8 volumes. I'm sorry.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So what's it been like to work on such a long-term project?
I mean, that's the only thing I like to work on. I don't like to work on small things. I was never really short stories are great, but I like it to where it's a very gargantuan epic, and that's always been my style. Um,
Cool.
it's been interesting. It's been a long journey, and it takes some time. And it's been great actually. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Awesome. Um, and Martina, hi.
Right.
So I guess, do you want to give us a little intro into how you kind of jumped on board with Ameial Sky?
Yes. So Jermaine, I think he found me on our session some years ago, and I was very, very happy when he asked me to work on Ameial Sky because he wanted to put in Ameial Sky many things that I like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, and this horror atmosphere. So when he asked me to draw this, I say, yes, I
Very
can
cool.
believe that. So I was very happy. And I think you can see this on the pages.
Yeah.
And nothing, this.
Yeah. And I really love the art. I love the character designs, and I feel like the colors just fit so well with this kind of apocalyptic world. I guess, what was your kind of approach, or what were some of the things that you had in mind?
Okay. When I started, I watched what the artists before me have done, because I thought if Jermaine likes that, I want to keep something from that. So I try to keep the atmosphere, something of the palette, the colors, and that's why there's this contrast through the world and the character design that are more colored. And he writes very, very good character design, so they're beautiful because also the writer was good to describe them.
Very cool. And say hi to Brittany. Hi. So
Hi.
Brittany, you are the editor, and you and I have worked together. You've edited a bunch of my stuff, which has been a lot of fun. So I guess kind of at what point did you get involved in Ameial Sky, and what were your, I guess, kind of initial thoughts?
Good question. I think it was 2017. Jermaine, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This was a number of years ago.
Wow, it's been a while. Yeah, 20.
Yeah. And Jermaine brought me in on the second issue. And I was kind of, enraptured with the story, and couldn't wait to kind of dig in, and Jermaine's kept me on, which is nice. And seeing how the story has evolved has been just incredible, with, going from a sort of semi-young, Ameial Sky first coming into this apocalyptic world, and then seeing how she deals with it and where she's going next is thrilling. So
very cool. So for anyone, I guess, I read the first few issues of it, and I really enjoyed it. I love Amelia as a character, because I think that she's this unexpected hero, partly because she's young, but partly because she also just doesn't really know who she is, and how. I guess what are kind of all of your thoughts on her as a character, and kind of what her arc is, and it seems really interesting to be working on a character who both is so young and has all of this kind of about herself that's so unknown.
I would say with Amelia, I wanted to write her a lot like myself as a kid, not really knowing much about the world, and kind of finding out on the cuff. And I believe that's a lot with horror, is just finding out things on the cuff, and having the reader just like go, "Oh my God, I didn't know about that," and having the character going, "I didn't know that was going to happen." I think that her arc is going to be, wow, that's probably going to be somewhere. I would say it really kind of happens towards volume 5, and she understands who she is, and she understands her mission, and it's a lot bigger than what she thinks it is.
Wow.
And this world that she's in right now is just a stepping stone to something bigger that she's about to be.
Wow, it's exciting. And I like what you're saying about having her kind of learn things about herself as she goes. Because I think, like, just as a writer, the temptation is to kind of reveal too much or reveal things too early. So when you can do that and just kind of have the writer or the reader discover things as she does, I think that's a really interesting way to build like her character, but also just world building in general for the story. It's not an easy thing to do, I think, as a writer, since there is that temptation to, kind of info dump sometimes. So that's very cool. I like that.
It is a huge temptation. I mean, I would love to say some of the stuff that she will become down the line, or what her overall twist is of her character, but it would just reveal so much about it, and it'll be way better for you to be able to find out as a reader down the line.
Yeah, it's definitely more satisfying as a reader when things kind of roll out over a period of time.
Yeah, slow burn for the win.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I guess what are your plans for issue 5 and beyond?
Issue 5 is gonna be it's gonna slow down a slight little bit, so I can go over some of the characters that are gonna be in the future.
Mhm.
It'll introduce the final character out of the lot, which is Emily, and it'll start to have that dichotomy between Amelia and Emily, and then you'll see the dichotomy between duality between Abigail and Ruby and her sister, and that will kind of follow throughout the entire series. Um, just that sisterhood kind of arc. I think towards the end of the volume, and you find out who Ameial Sky is, not who she's going to become. It'll be way clearer to the reader to be able to see how all these pieces fit together.
Very cool. I like that there's this kind of like long-standing mystery that's in the background.
Yes, yes. You don't really find out completely about the mystery until the very last part of, I would say, volume 2.
Very cool. So what's it like? I guess then kind of after volume 2, it would be kind of a shift in your own writing and kind of where I guess where you're at with the character in your own head now that she knows this about herself. How is it kind of writing before versus after?
It'll be different because she'll have to cope with who she is and the abilities that she has. Um, as she gets to it, it'll be different because the world will be a lot bigger too as well.
Yeah.
I'll have to deal with more characters and a bigger situation, and it will be very. It's gonna be a long journey. I think once you get to the point where there's gonna be a point where you'll have the villains, the characters start to become more known. Right now, you just have an overall, it's the Shriekers, and that's it. But once you get towards the end, you'll start to see that there are way more villains in her world that will shape who she can be.
Wow. It kind of makes me feel like, or it kind of reminds me of something like Harrow County, where you start off, it kind of, you think that the only villains are kind of like these like ghosts and creatures in this one little part of the forest, and then the story grows and it grows, and you realize that it's this much bigger world with all of these kind of supernatural beings that the protagonists didn't even really know were there. That's very cool. That's a again, like the slow burn again of kind of discovering that and pulling back and pulling back. I like that.
It's you'll notice that there'll be a lot of human villains, but there'll start to be a lot of alien villains down the line, and that's what I really love about the story. That I can bring in my sense of what I think alien life is like, and how that would be featured in this story.
Very cool. That's exciting. So for you and Martina, what is your kind of process of working together been like, and how do you kind of go about collaborating?
It's been actually pretty awesome. We have a lot of the sense of the same things with horror and art and what we see out of symbolism. So it actually connected pretty well. My last artist, Gwen, we met in college, and we had the same similarities, and it connected very well. Whenever we would sit down and write a story, it would go over smoothly. I wouldn't have to go back and tell Gwen to do certain things because she'll already know to do them. And it's the same thing with Martina. Like, I don't have to really tell her anything. She will just completely surprise me whenever she introduces a page. And I'm like, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
That's awesome. I guess Martina, what has it been like on your end?
It's the same for me, actually. It was a surprise because it was one of my first work, and I didn't expect that I found a person so similar to me. And when we work together, I am totally free, and I can make some experiment with colors, drawings. So this is so very fun for me. And nothing. I really like, really enjoying work on this story. And usually we talk a lot about how can we fix drawings or script about together.
Very cool. That's cool that you have that dynamic as a writer who is also not an artist. It's really cool when you find an artist who you're like really on the same page with, and you have like the same vision for what you're doing. Very cool.
Thank you.
And Brittany, I'm kind of thinking about editing process. I've been thinking about my own editing process as a writer over the last few years, and I think the first the first script I wrote was 6 issues, and I waited until the end of the 6 issues to have any editing on it. And I realized that was, I think, a mistake. So I've been in other projects kind of editing an issue at a time. So how have you guys kind of been working on the editing?
Mostly I receive a script when it's ready, and with some context into the future. And I give feedback, and that kind of wraps that up. And then I also like participate in editing Kickstarter copy and helping here and there with like scheduling and stuff. But it's been a lovely process. I love it when I hear from Jermaine. He's like, I got a script ready. It's like, all right, let's go.
And I guess Jermaine, has your writing like changed as a result of any of the edits you made? I feel like my writing has changed a ton as a result of just things I've learned over the course of editing.
It has. I've been fortunate to have such a good editor. It's one of those things where you don't see it. You have to be, you're so inside of your story, you don't see outside of it.
Yeah.
As you start to see those corrections, you can go, okay, I can start making these down the line. And so when we get to like new scripts, I can take what Brittany's taught me and I can kind of put that forward and make the process a lot easier for her and myself as well. But yeah, it's changed me to make me better and more aware of the content that I put inside of it. It can't be as fantastical as is in my head as to paper. So
yeah, I feel the same way. I think that's like you said, you are so in your head about everything that you write. And I think it's just really helped me to get outside perspective on my writing so that I can see like, well, these are the things that I do that I don't know, maybe I think that I'm doing something in my head, but it's not always maybe coming across on the page because of these things, and then carrying that over into the next issue or even a different series. I think it's really helped my writing a lot.
I find the most difficult part about it is, I would say, probably action scenes. I think that's probably the most difficult part about the process of making comic books, is like, because you can see this in your head, you can see it all play out, but whenever you're looking at like still shots, it's really hard to like write those down on page because it's so much stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about action scenes the other day because I was listening to one of Scott Snyder's classes that he does, and he was focusing on action scenes. And I feel like they've been challenging for me too, for similar reasons, because there's so much and just getting it into a panel. But then also because I just like writing character moments more than big action scenes. But one of the things he was saying in his class was how much an action scene really reflects the themes that you're going for in your story. If it's like a big, grand kind of action scene, that says one thing about where your character is at. Or if it's more like contained and shorter, like actions within one panel, that says another thing. And it's what the character does and how the character fights is reflective of so much thematically. And I think thinking about it that way and kind of realizing that makes them more interesting to write for me. Because I always kind of just wanted to be like, okay, they fight. main character wins. Let's move on.
Exactly.
It's,
I've been so fortunate to have, well, with Martina, she's very good at those. So if I'm sitting here writing it and I can see it in my head, it's nice to have somebody so well versed in it to be able to put it on page. Like, so it's always good to have, I guess, a really good artist, but it's also good to have a good editor to go back and like, hey, that's not going to work. So I'll do something different.
So is there anything, Martina, that you, with the fight scenes that you've enjoyed most?
Yes, I like fight scene, but yes, I think is the most difficult scenes because they have to work with the scene before and the scene after. So it's important that I have a good script about that, and I'm lucky because the Jermaine script are good. But the work of Brittany, the editing is very, very, very important because sometimes I can see, I'm into the scene and I can see some little mistake, so she can put all on the right line, the right way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because that's true. It's not just the fight scene itself, it's the action leading up to it, and then what happens after this fight scene. It has to flow well. Yeah, are those some of, I guess, like the comments that you've made, Brittany, as far as some of those scenes?
Yeah, I think that I guess what I try to remind both writer and artists when it comes to fight scenes or just like any scenes with a lot of movement is that there can be a lot sort of assumed and implied in between the gutters, in between panels. You don't have to necessarily watch someone like walk all the way down a hallway and have like 5 panels cover that. You can allow the reader to make the assumption that they're walking from like one place to another. So yeah, I think if it makes sense to me, and I read a lot of comics, I read comics every day during the weekdays, sometimes on the weekends. If it makes sense to me, I feel like, okay, this will make sense to the reader as well. They'll be able to suspend their disbelief. They'll be able to make those assumptions about what happened in between the scenes.
Yeah, interesting. That's that's good to keep in mind. I'm writing a short that has a couple of action scenes, and the main character doesn't actually kill anyone, so I keep being like, and she knocks them out. And I'm like, okay, but how do I do this in a way that doesn't just look the same every time? There are a lot of those little kind of quirks to think about with action scenes. They're interesting.
Yeah.
So I've read up to issue 3. So I guess for people who are coming into the new issues, what are some of the exciting things? And we've talked about it a little bit, but I guess since 4 is the next one coming out, and 4 specifically that people can look forward to.
You'll see a lot more. The world will be a lot bigger. You'll see more characters come into play. When I first initially started, I had this display of all the characters combined in one. It has been amazing being able to see them all start to come to fruition. I think that readers will really like the action and horror element that we put in issue 4. I think they are very balanced. It's always hard to write something bigger because it's going to be a time where they aren't doing as much action as most people like to see on page. And it's not as fast paced, and you're just trying to build character arcs. But I think in this next one, people are going to be really happy with just the amount of action that is leading up to where she's about to do.
Very cool. Exciting. So if it's, and you're eventually planning to kind of collect it in multiple trades?
Yeah. Whenever I started, Amelia was initially a television show in college. And when I started, I wanted to find a way to get it out there. And so I thought, hey, it's comic books. I always loved comic books. And I read them since I was a kid. And I was like, I'll go ahead and transfer it to that medium and try to build a fan base. But yeah, it's going to be in multiple issues. Hopefully we can get picked up at some point in time. I always wanted to be with Image. Uh, but if that's not the case, then I'll continue doing the self-publishing thing.
Nice. And with a story like this, how do you kind of approach, like, with one that is this long and each trade kind of has its own little arc for the character, how do you kind of approach that with character arcs that can work, kind of like as an arc within the trade, but then can work within the larger arc of the whole series?
It really does feel like a TV show,
Yeah,
and
like season.
I'm so familiar with writing film, and
Oh,
in TV, it feels a lot. It feels a lot like that, and so that's how I'm approaching it. It's hard to say them whenever I'm talking to people about it and be like, hey, I guess I can kind of sum it down to it's going to be season 1 or season 2
yeah.
or season 3, and try to help them kind of wrap their heads around that. And I think it works out much better that way.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Um, Speaking of film, did I see on your social that you have a film coming up?
Yeah, I have a short that I did not that long. Oh, actually, it's been a year and a half that I've been trying to get together. Hopefully, we'll have something. I'll see something come about sometime at Halloween. But it really depends on what we're doing with this,
Mhm.
because this kind of comes first. This is the the bigger project right now.
Yeah.
Um, I have very much a love for film, but my first love comes with the writing at all times.
Yeah.
I've always been wanted to be a writer.
Yeah, same. Um, so yeah, was there anything else about the comic that you wanted to make sure to mention?
We had a scheduling delay. We were going to be getting we'll be fulfilling our last Kickstarter. That'll be the last part of August towards the beginnings of September. Um, we're rushing to get that done. We're not going to rush too fast though, because we're not going to make errors in that process. It always sucks with Kickstarters because you can set a date and never really know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, you can have a sense that I'm going to come out with it at this point in time, but there's always life problems and you just can't help that. But yeah, that's one thing I wanted to make sure I put out there.
I know that's always the way I feel like with indie comics. You can schedule it to a point.
Yeah, and then if something puts a creek in that line, it just draws things out a little bit. But we have the ability to come back pretty strong. So we're trying to do something for our next Kickstarter in the fall. We'll see how that works. Hopefully, we'll be able to get this out and have enough time to produce that in the fall. I do want to be able to do another comic book, um, another story sometime in winter. That'll be me and Martina and Brittany as well. Um, but I want to get issue 5 because it seems such sparseness for me to come out with a comic book. It takes like a year or two
Yeah.
before I can actually get it to a Kickstarter. So
It
I want to
takes so
try to.
long.
It does. I want to try to shorten that time up and get like at least 2 out a year of Ameial and 2 out of multi-D, the next comic book. But we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Yeah, it's tricky. I feel like I've been in a similar place too, where I've just been doing No Spell Lasts Forever. And I have Mayfly is the series that I'm working on with Brittany, and the artist is Kieran Quinn, and we're shooting to have our first issue out by winter. But now, like, I have to figure out how to how to continue on with that one, and also No Spell, and it's like, okay, how do I stagger them? How do I make this work? It's
Yeah,
a
it's
tricky
good.
thing.
Yeah, it is tricky, but yeah, we'll find a way. So.
Yeah, it's doable. It's tricky, but doable. And Brittany and Martina, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to make sure to share?
Nothing. I hope to do a good job actually. Martina,
Yeah, well, the art's been awesome so far. So
thank you.
Yeah, Martina, you're amazing.
Thank you
I,
so much.
yeah, I think presentationstudios.com is where you can
yes.
find out more information about Ameial Sky and even a little bit about multi-D, which Jermaine mentioned, and keep an eye out for our next Kickstarter.
Yeah, exciting. And I'll definitely put that website link in the show notes.
Yeah,
well, thanks for chatting with me. This was fun.
Thanks for having us on. It's been awesome. I mean, this is the first time we've all been on a call together. So thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, it's been great.